This is a tale about a little book who wasn't like the others. You see, in a magnificent library where every book held 1,000 adventures and whispered stories from its pages, there was one little book who felt very, very empty. He had a cover and pages and a spine, but inside, his pages were blank. He had no story. Oh, he longed to be like the other books. They were so exciting. Their covers were beautiful, their pages filled with colorful words and pictures. A kind librarian would read their stories to a group of children whose faces would light up with wonder. The little book felt a deep, empty ache. He had no story to tell. One day, as the little book sat on the shelf watching the other books being taken down, one by one, he thought to himself, "What am I good for? I'm just a blank book. No one will ever want me." But then one afternoon, a tiny, golden mouse with the most curious eyes scurried out from behind a shelf. She noticed the little book's sadness and squeaked softly, "Why the long face? Little book, you look like you've lost your last page." The little book sighed and said, "I have no pages to lose. I have no story to tell. I'm just empty." The golden mouse tilted her head and thought for a moment. "Empty? I see. But empty isn't a bad thing. Empty is a beginning. It means you have space for a brand new story." The little book didn't know what to say. He had never thought of being empty as a good thing. The golden mouse scurried down the shelf and said, "I'll show you something." And with that, she dashed away. She scurried all around the library, telling the little book about all the things she saw. She told him about the little girl who always smiled when she read, and the gentle librarian who spoke in whispers. She told him about the big, dusty atlas with pages full of mountains and oceans, and the sleepy cat who always found the warmest sunbeam to nap in. But most of all, she told him about all the stories that lived inside these books. Stories about brave knights and magical lands, stories about clever foxes and faraway places, stories about talking animals and friendly giants. As the golden mouse told her stories, the little book felt a strange feeling inside. It was a feeling he had never felt before, a feeling that made him want to do more than just sit on the shelf. And then, while the golden mouse was telling him about a princess who lived in a castle made of clouds, the little book felt a tiny glow. He looked down at his page and saw a single, tiny, glowing word dot once. The golden mouse squeaked with delight. "Look, a word appeared. Can you write more?" The little book wasn't sure. He didn't know how. But as the golden mouse continued her story about the princess and the castle in the clouds, the little book felt another tingle. This time two glowing words appeared on his page. Upon a time, the golden mouse clapped her paws. "You're doing it, little book, just like the storytellers." And with that, she dashed to the window to tell him about the world outside the library. She told him about the beautiful garden with its colorful flowers, and the little boy who loved to draw pictures of dragons in his notebook. And as she spoke, more words appeared on the little book's page, words like whisper, wind, and way. Just then, the golden mouse looked back and saw the librarian looking at the little book with a big smile. She was so happy to see the words that had appeared. She picked up the little book and took a pen and wrote a sentence below the words the mouse had inspired. She wrote about the mouse and her kindness, and the little boy who loved to draw, and the beautiful garden outside. And as she wrote, the little book felt the warmth of her kindness on his pages. He wasn't empty anymore. He was full of words and pictures, and most of all, full of hope. From that day on, the little book was no longer empty. His pages were slowly filled with words and drawings from the librarian and the children, inspired by all the beautiful things they saw. He was a special kind of book, a book whose story was still being written, a book full of kindness and wonder and all the beautiful little things that make life an adventure. And whenever anyone opened his book, they felt the magic of the words and the wonder of the pictures and the echo of the little mouse's whisper. For he was not an ordinary book. He was a book full of extraordinary possibilities.